Well, hello to you all once again. Welcome back to Classic Dirt Bike TV, where we're currently in the middle of sifting through all of the footage from this year's 2025 Offroad Motorsport Festival that was held in the superb grounds of Drumlanrig Castle. But we're currently in the middle of showing you some of the interviews with a few of the local scrambling stars that were at this year's event, and we've already enjoyed some stories from the likes of Jimmy Aird and Bill Brown, Willie Wallace and Mark Fulton. So let's just head back to the Saturday's centre stage, and your host for the evening is again John McCrink.
He was always fair with his prices, and I know for a fact he sold lots of scrambles bikes. People from Cumbria and Northumbria came, and Eddie always gave them a good deal. And I know somebody who used to scramble, who's not very well at the moment, Robert Dunn, who worked for you at one stage. And Robert told me that his wife, who was a district nurse, which involved, she'd qualified as a district nurse and she had to travel about the community. So she went to Eddie and bought a scooter. And then after a cold winter, she thought, nah, I need a wee car. She took the year-old scooter back to Eddie, and he gave her more for it than she paid when she bought it. So that's kind of something to tell you a bit about the man. He was a fair-minded man. And as a kid, I used to drool over the scrambles bikes and the road bikes and the Gold Stars. And I said to Eddie recently, you wish you still had some of them? And he said I should just have locked that showroom up, locked it and left it, and these bikes would have been worth a fortune. But anyway, Eddie, your career in motorcycling started. Tell us about when you left school and you decided to do an apprenticeship in the motorcycle industry.
Well, I was motorbike daft since I was so high, and anyway, when I was time to leave school, I wasn't really clever enough to go to university, and my parents decided that I'd be better learning a motorbike trade. So I was dispatched to the BSA company in Birmingham, where I served my apprenticeship. Birmingham was a new sensation to me altogether. I'd never seen a black man in my life. I mean, I was 16-year-old. And I maybe shouldn't say that, should I? But between West Indians and Pakistanis and the Birmingham people, I don't know what you know about the Brummie accents like.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to get used to that. So the first 6 months at the BSA company was very strange to me. But once I had the 6 months in and I met a few people and I joined a motorbike club down there and things got a lot better. Now the Midlands, as you'll know, was the centre of Britain or England anyway, and there was racetracks all round about, whether it was road racing like Silverstone and Mallory Park, or Hoxton Park for the motocross, or scrambling it was in them days. It was terrific. Every weekend there was something to do. At that time I was only 16 and I just had a little Triumph Cub motorbike, and I used to tootle about on that and go to all the meetings. Some of my friends in the motorbike club, Kings Norton Club it was called, they had started trials, and because I didn't have a car or anything like that, I could ride a trials bike to the meetings. Well, you couldn't do that with a scrambler. So I took up trials. I got myself a 350 Aerial, which was it was past its best, but I had a great fun in that bike, and I rode that for 2 or 3 years down there, and not with a lot of success, but I enjoyed it. When I was at the BSA, the first 6 months, I went around all the different departments, and eventually I had to choose, or it was chosen for me that I would go into the engine development department, which was like heaven to me. And I was there for 2.5 years. And the engine development department was separate from the main factory. We had that the engine development, experimental department, the competition department, and that was it. They were all separate, but they were together. So I could witness Jeff Smith was my hero at that time, and Arthur Lampkin and all the Lampkins tooting on in and out, and eventually Sammy Miller, the greatest trial rider ever, I think. Ariel was taken over by BSA, and he came to the BSA factory and he worked in the building right next to me. So it was a great life for me. I was in pure heaven, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, I eventually decided that I would like to try the scrambling. And I got an old Francis Barnett scrambler, which had a hopeless two-stroke engine in it. It wasn't a Villiers, it was a AMC, that's right, but it was useless. So I managed to buy an engine from the factory, BSA 250 engine, which I was reputed to have been Arthur Lampkin's old engine, and it was fine. And I managed to graft that into the Francis Barnett frame. And I enjoyed that for, well, at that time I was getting near the 21 and time to come home. I rode 2 scrambles down there, and then I came home. That time I forgot to tell you that I had passed my test and I got a wee pickup, so I could take this scrambler to the meetings. Anyway, I came home and started scrambling up here. The first person I bumped into up here was a chap called Bert McNish, who I don't know, all the English people won't know him, but most of the Scottish riders will remember him. He's a bit of a character. As a matter of fact, we used to sometimes travel together and sometimes went our own way. But we had a lot of ding-dongs together, and his wife said to me one day, "Are you interested in winning a race? Or do you just want to beat my husband?" Which was true, really. Anyway, that I've got a BS. My parents bought me a BSA Victor for my 21st birthday, which was a year late in coming. Matter of fact, Billy's dad got one before me, which annoyed me intensely. And matter of fact, I was there at the meeting where Billy's dad broke his leg, and that was the end of his career at Hoyt, I think it was. Now, where was I? Oh yes, I got home, had this VSA Victor, and I used it for about 3 or 4 years up here. Had a great time with it, didn't have a lot of bother with it, didn't win a lot, mind you, or anything like that. I probably classed as a champion also ran. But after 3 or 4 years with the Victor, it was getting uncompetitive, put it that way. And I had, at that time, I was selling CZs. And Dave Bickers was a gentleman, and he actually sold me a very knockdown price, a 250 CZ, which I was kind of reluctant to buy because I didn't like 2 strokes, and it was a funny looking thing. It had steel petrol tanks for British bikes, had alloy tanks and this kind of thing. Anyway, somebody mentioned the left-hand gear change, and that took a wee while to get adjusted to because I was still riding the Victor at the same time. Anyway, I rode that for a year, and then I got a 360 twin port CZ, which actually belonged to Mike Barnes.
Oh yeah,
And it was the best, most enjoyable bike I ever had, to be quite honest. After that, I got a 400 CZ, a 360 CZ single port, which I never liked as much. And finally, I got a 400 Michael, which I could not get on with. I don't know why, but. And I thought, oh, maybe it's time to pack in now, so that's what happened.
But you had a good career, so that whole thing about starting in London, in Birmingham, being in among Jeff Smith, it's quite incredible, really. And you must have gone on to sell quite a lot of local guys, scrambles bikes in the business, Eddie.
We did sell a lot of bikes, Greaves to begin with, and then Husqvarna's, it was Brian Leask,
Oh, yeah.
He was the importer, and he used to come up himself and bring them up, and CZs was the big thing for me.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. It was a man called Cotton. He was the manager at Vickers' shop, and he was really good to me.
Jimmy would know him, and of course you rode with. Jimmy would have appeared, and you rode with Willie. And
well, they were in a different league to me. I'll tell you a wee story about Willie. We'll probably not know anything about this, but there was a chap called Roy. Roy. Could have forgotten his name now. He won the Scottish Championship in a tackle.
Roy Black.
Roy Black, that's right. He had a celebration party after he had won the championship. And a lot of us went back to his house that night for a celebration. Now, there was no breathalyzers in them days. Anyway, eventually we set off back. He lived in Lesmahigo. And we set off back down the road towards Dumfries. And we caught up with this other van, I can't remember what it was. Now, Willie, can you remember being at Roy Black's party?
No, keep going.
Well, we all gone down the road, and here we caught up with this other vehicle, and it appeared to be our friend Mr. Wallace here. And he was going the wrong way. He was supposed to be going back to Glasgow or that direction, and he was heading for the police. And we were waving like this to him, and he's going waving back to us. So I still went about 5 miles down the road before we got him convinced that he was going the wrong way.
Well, Willie's not remembering that one, is he?
I must have been drunk at the time.
There was no drink involved.
No. Well, Eddie, you've had a long time in the motorcycle industry, and you still support the club. You observe at trials. You've marshalled at Drumlanrig and elsewhere. So you've been a credit to the industry and to the sport. So let's have a big round of applause for Eddie Graham. Now, I'm aware, folks, time's Tony's from a different generation to Jimmy and Eddie. No disrespect to these elder statesmen. But Tony, you've had a pretty spectacular career, and you started off in schoolboy racing. And how did your schoolboy career pan out? Did you win a championship?
Yeah, the schoolboy career, it would start when I was maybe 10-year-old. First meeting down at Barrow-in-Furness, I think I finished third. And then it moved on from there, and schoolboys down south. Then it came, maybe intermediates, maybe 13, 14. I thought maybe I'll have to have a race in Scotland because I'm a Scotsman, so I went up and in the intermediates, and I won the Scottish Championship that year. But then after that, I had to move down south, and I think it was Cumbria, and like Mark was there. Well, Billy was just a bit older. Well, Mark was a bit older. Billy even a little bit older than that. So Mark was there, and Billy was there the odd time, but Mark was there, but I didn't get to race against him in the schoolboys because it was like yearly classes, so we didn't get to clash in the schoolboys. So, but no, that was the kind of schoolboy.
So you had a good time in the schoolboys, and in the start of your adult career, what were you riding then?
Adult career, it was, well, after in the schoolboys, I was on Hondas, and it was through like a local dealership, Mason Weir in Carlisle. His father was quite friendly with down at Honda, so then it came to the first British Championships in 1982. I had to go in. Honda offered me to ride their pre-production bike, which was an 83 bike, in the ACU Championship. So we went and we tested the bike, but it had been in Holland, Belgium, and it came to the UK, and a guy called Rob Spencer that worked for Honda UK, I went and met him, and he was a great guy, and we went and we rode these bikes, and it was a pile of shit. But
was it?
Because it had been around the world before it came to the UK, and so I couldn't refuse but ride it in the championships. It was the ACU British Championship in '82. I rode it, and I finished third or fourth because the bike was useless. So then, it was the week after that. It was the British Champion of Champions, and I said to Honda, and I said, right, I've rode the pre-production bike, but can I ride my own bike for the Champion of Champions? It was down in Derbyshire somewhere, and I rode my own bike, and I won the Champion of Champions on my own bike, because it was twice the bike of and I think if I'd rode my own bike at the ACU, I would have won it as well. But anyway, but what I'd done was good, because after that, I got the contract with Honda in 1983 for the British Support Championship to ride for them. And that was the start of things it was so good, it made it so easy, that I think if at that time, when I went to stay with Rob Spencer, I stayed with him down in London, went practicing, went riding, didn't go training because it was so easy, because the stuff was there. And if I would say to Rob, go training, I would go drinking or all the rest of it, but didn't do what I should do. And it was easy that year. The British Support Championship, I think I would have won it if one meeting the bike it broke in half and I didn't finish one meeting. So it was a guy called Kevin Froud won the Support Championship, and well, that left me to go into the top 40 in my first year. So things were looking good.
And was that a Kawasaki that broke in half?
No, it was the Honda.
Was it?
The
sorry, you were on the Honda. But you had issues later on in your career with Kawasaki's, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I think it would have been, I'm getting my years all wrong, but after things went wrong with Honda, I think I bought Kawasaki, and then I done a few Scottish Championship rounds, and I was winning them. So Alec Wright came on board, do you want this, do you want that? Because things were looking good for him, and everything was going well. And then it came to I'd missed the first meeting of the Scottish Championship because I didn't know what I was going to do that year. So I started off one round behind, and then we went to the first meeting. Things were going good. The last meeting, I had to finish 5th overall in the day, I think, to win the championship. So things were good. The first two races, I won the first two races. The last race, I had to finish, I think it was 5th. To get enough points to take the championship. 3 laps to go, suspension broke, bike down the mudguard. So I rode 3 laps where the bike collapsed, over the line, finished 4th. I got the championship by a point.
Incredible.
And then it was like the same thing. I think on the Monday morning, a phone call from Alec Wright, he'd heard about it, but he says, if the Trials and Motocross News get on to you, it wasn't the bike that broke, it was the shock absorber. So, and the Kawasaki's were common for breaking. Well, Billy will tell you, but they just broke up. I had to do what Alec Wright said because but that was good.
And then your career moved on further until you had that bad accident.
Well, before that, it was Bill came on board. I think with the Makos, and the first time I think we went to, my first race was at Sandhead, the beach race. I never rode a bike before, and I think it wasn't even a good bike, it was one that came out the shed, and I think I was leading the beach race, and then, I think the clutch burnt out, but then the next year we went with a brand new blue Mako, and we won the beach race at Sunra.
Did you?
But the Makos were good, the times were good. I think if it hadn't been the trouble at the factory in Germany and all the rest of it, I mean, they were a great bike to ride, even compared to the Honda. Because after the Mako went bust, I moved on to privateer, and I bought a Honda, and then that's where I had the bad accident. Fell off, bike hit me in the back of the head, and I knew nothing for a fortnight. So that was.
Yeah. And that really was the kind of end of your professional career, because you came back, but it wasn't the same, was it?
No, I came back maybe a year later, but it was okay breaking bones and that, but after I got the bang in the head, it was just like, as somebody said to you, a local guy saw me in the village, and they said I was walking about for a year like a sparrow with a broken wing. It was.
But then your career as it was come to an end because of the accident. But when the twin shock scene was on the go, you came back and you did very well at that.
Oh, came back, had another go. The first year, met Paul, all the boys that I hadn't seen for 30 years, and they're still doing it. So I think the first year it would be it'd be the over 40s or the under 50s. Well, anyway, and I won the championship. Then the next year I thought, I'm going in the open class. Well, the first meeting was good and Pop had a good days. Well, the second meeting, big off again. Now, and that just hung up the gloves totally.
Now, it's interesting, Tony, your career. People talk about how blisteringly fast you were. Do you guys agree with that? Yeah, really fast. And I had the privilege of interviewing Dave Thorpe at Telford Show. And Dave told me about a meeting, a really icy meeting early in the season. The ground was frozen solid.
Canada Heights.
Was it Canada Heights? Yeah.
No, I think the first one was Streatley Hills.
Streatley, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then it was great meeting. First race I won it, second race I won it, third race, meanwhile the Sims had a bit coming together, so that meant I didn't win the overall, but I was second and third. But that was good for the Mako and the Barham tyres. I think Bill would have a surgeon seal on Barham tyres after the.
But
Thorpe's dad bought one.
what Thorpe said to me was the ground was frozen solid.
Yeah.
And he said Tony took off like a scalded cat as if it was a summer's day and unbothered by it.
No, but I think as well, and even still to this day, it was maybe because it was only after I hurt my head. But before then, there was no brains anyway. It was just like it was like bin it or win it. I mean, even when it went to, like, I think after Streatley Hills, it went to Canada Heights, and of course it was the same again. But I managed to win the overall there, and as I say, things were going good. I wish in the end, I think when I got the contract for Honda originally, I just needed a mentor down there with me to tell me what to do. Like, because I just thought, I was trying to go in Graham Noyce's footsteps, because I think, well, he can drink, he can do that, he can do that. Well, but it didn't work.
So with hindsight, it would maybe be different.
Yeah.
But Tony, you've been an absolute legend in Dumfries and Galloway. I remember I was still living up in Aberdeen at the time, and Dougie Milligan used to go places with you, and Dougie said to me, you need to see young Tony Keig. Christ, can he go? And I think you were just a nipper then. And actually at one stage when I was a student, I was working on a building site which happened to be Tony's dad's hotel near Kirkcudbright. And you were just a nipper, and you were quite simply a cheeky wee bastard. I remember you well.
But I can remember as well when, as Wolfsport won the go, well, I think Billy would be the main manufacturer of Wolfsport. And because I was in Billy's acquaintances and that then, Billy would get a good deal because although he was sponsoring me, Billy was making them, and I'd be stating the colours, what I wanted, and that. So they were Wolfsport, but they were, and we were heading to a British Championship maybe on the Saturday morning and that. I have to call into Billy's house. No, but he was just still making them. So the gear, what number is it? Is the screen printed on the back of it?
Brilliant.
So,
And you also worked with Neil Hudson, didn't you?
Yeah, Neil, he was at Honda when I was there, and I mean, Neil, I just wish I could have taken a bit of his style and a bit of his sense, and but so fast, so cool, and he looked so slow, but he was so fast.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. Well, Tony, it's great listening to your career, and who knows, but for that bad accident, what might have happened. It's the same with motocross riders when they get injured. You just don't know what might have happened. Anyway, we'll move on. Thanks very much. A big round for local boy, Tony Keig. Now, we've got two Scotsmen still.
Right.
Now, Andy, you're a local man that took up scrambling, and if you've got the programme, you'll have read about Airds, which is was our famous track in this area. And that's where you really started off, Andy, isn't it?
Yeah, that was my first meeting.
Very first meeting.
On a BSA B31. A BSA B31.
Was that a great tool?
Just what Bill was saying, it was an ex-road going machine. I got it from one of my uncles from up Money Highway. We chopped the lights off, everything else to make it light, and I took it to Airds at Crossmichael, and my it was quite hilly at Crossmichael, and it was a wet, slippery day, and I couldn't get up the big hill. All I did was dig holes, like ploughing a field. And Uncle Bert, who was Fraser's dad, late dad, Albert Monroe Dykes, that's what AMD stands for. And he was kind of an expert road going guy. He says, he tried to tell me how to get this machine up the hill. So we're in the pits and he was giving me this, giving me that. And he says, right, I'll just show you how to do it. So he gets on the bike in the pits, and it was kind of muddy and sloppy. And he went from here to you and he fell off. So he never told me, or given me advice after that. So
And then, obviously, you then moved on to getting a proper scrambles bike. What was your first proper scrambles bike, Andy?
well, my very first one was, because I got fed up pushing and shoving these bikes around pits, because between plugs and points and condensers and all the rest of it, I'm a bricklayer to trade, and so we couldn't farm this thing out. So me and my brother-in-law, my late brother-in-law, Char McNeil, him and I was pushing the bike up and doing. We were the fittest guys about at that time. Anyway, the Suzuki's came on board on the television. Well, not television, but World Championship, Da Costa and Robert and all the kind of boys. And I thought, right, I'm going to get one of these Suzukis. And it was orange TM 400. I went to Bill, to Eddie Graham's. Eddie, I want one of them bikes. Well, I think they had two coming in as just for sales. And I said, I want one of them. And Eddie said to me, would you know be better with having two second-hand CZs? I said, no. I was only about, I don't know what age I was, but I wasn't 15, but I was under 20, I think. No, I want that Suzuki. And I was the first man to have the TM400 orange machine in Scotland, and Eddie will probably verify that. And it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. It was. And I should have bought the two CZs, because being sensible, I'd have got two classes then.
That's right, aye.
And I had the same bikes for the same price. And Suzuki, Norman Barrow had got one at a later date, him and Nigel Burkett. Well, Nigel was only about 16, and they could ride it. Nigel came for the trials scene, which was brilliant for a young boy to come through, and he could handle throttle control, and it was great. But Norman said to me, Norman had the bike given from Cook Suzuki, I think it was, and he got one, and he came up to Aird's a few times, and I was younger, but then Norman says, why did he buy one of them? He says, well, why did you buy one? He says, I haven't bought it. Somebody gave me it. But he didn't have it for long. So it kind of went that way. And that Suzuki was, and even Norrie Limburn and late Norrie's brother, Willie Limburn, said to me, you're mad to buy that machine. It was a great looking bike, because it was the first production bike, well, for sale at that time, the 400. So it was a lethal weapon. They call them, in America, they call them cyclones. And there's one in Australia that I know of, but there was two sold in Scotland. Myself and Mick Watt bought one.
Mugs.
And wherever they are now, who knows.
And then you went on to become a CCM fan, didn't you?
Well, that started with Cheney. I bought a Cheney from Eddie, a second-hand JBR that John Cooper had sold. John Cooper from North England, wheeling and dealing, and I think it was John Cooper. It was John Cooper. And anyway, I seen that bike, and I'd been at actually the year before that, I had been at the BBC Grandstand Trophy at Cadwell Park on my TM 400 Suzuki. And I seen John Banks going up there's a name of a place, it was like the staircase or something. I seen John Banks going up there, and a few, well, it was Vic and all the rest of them. And I thought, I think he was winning. I want one of them. And that's when I got back to Dumfries about a week or so later, I seen one in the showroom. So I done a deal with Eddie.
And he got the Suzuki back?
I think he must have done, because I couldn't afford to keep them.
Aye.
It'd be nice to keep them all, everything you bought.
And you liked the four-stroke because you then progressed to CCMs.
Well, the Cheney, the one I bought for Eddie, I decided, I met this guy from down in Essex, no Essex, near Halstead, down that way, Colchester, run that way somewhere. And he was visiting his parents from, or his family friends in Money Ive. And he said to me, he rode CZ, and he said to me, come down that way for get a double race meeting. And he set me up with 2 meetings. It was Easter, it wasn't Easter, it was a bank holiday, Sunday, Monday. I went to 2 of the meetings anyway. And on the way down I stopped at Ken Covell Motorcycles, because he was a dealer agent for Cheney. I called in to see him, then I went and did the racing Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Then I won on the Monday up at Chelmsford, in there somewhere. I won one of the races, and I think I won maybe a couple. But we took the bike down to the start line, and one of the boy I was with me pushed it down, and it was about 100-metre walk, and so we'll get down early, get a good position in the line. So I did that, well, mate did that, and I walked in there with my crash helmet and my gloves and goggles and whatever, and jump on the bike. I forgot to take my gloves, so I said I didn't have time to go back to get them. They wouldn't hold up the race, so I just rode with the gloves, and I won the race, and I got disqualified by Adrian Yallop, if you remember him.
Yeah.
He put the protest in because he was second in a Baltaco. I'm just about sure it was anyway. And I've still got I've got a photograph of that somewhere with me with the gloves and the tartan. I had Jimmy's tartan leathers on, TT leathers.
So that was a good start on a four-stroke.
Yeah, and then when I came back up, well, I ended up with Ken Covell. Stopped at his place on the way back up, bought some spares, and then he turned around and said to me, "Would you like to come down and I'll sponsor it?" So I went back to Scotland, sold my JBR to Wally Brown, and then I drove down to Cambridge, Ely, in Cambridgeshire, which I went down in an Osney 55 pickup, and if he wanted to drive one of them down to London now, he'd say no way in the world. It was that was the way it was, and I had 2 years with Covell, but he was kind of strict regards to, I wanted to do the British Championships, and he wouldn't let me. I did one British at Bury St Edmunds, and that was I don't know what year it was, but it was super hot weather, and I did quite well in the support, and I was training with Stuart Nunn. Midweek, and Jeff Mays, really fast boys. Like Nunny was number 3 in Britain at the time. And one day I went to watch, one Wednesday afternoon, I went to Nunny to watch some training because I was banned from racing, practicing with my Cheney, because that's another story. Well, I'll tell you that story. Ken Covell said to me, right, you can take the bike to practice. He wasn't keen on me practicing because I was wearing the bike out. I had 2 of them, but I mean, that's the way it was. So I took he let me take the Cheney one Wednesday afternoon. Nunny, John Banks was there. We were all local boys. I think Dave Bickers might have been there as well. And Nunny, Ken Covell said to me, don't let anybody ride that bike or you're in trouble, whatever thing. So whatever. Nunny said to me, any chance I get to go on that bike, Andy? Aye, jump. And he got on it in the pits. It was just a half a dozen of us. And he went from here to just the edge of there, upside down it went. He looped it and bent the back frame right up like a backing for a seat. And of course, Jesus, that was it. Just put it in the van. So next morning I had to say to Ken Covell, oh, who did that? Because I had to take the blame. I didn't want to say that it was Nunn. I should have. Now I should have said, because he loved Stuart Nunn. He thought he was the gods. Again, he was a great guy. but it was a bit of a,
So you had quite a career down there riding those 4-strokes. The Ken Covert.
yeah, I won the Eastern Centre 4-stroke championships.
Happy memories indeed, Andy.
76 that was, in.
Well,
Actually, it was Neil that was telling me the other day, because I went to Isle of Man with Neil Hudson. We came from a race meeting and then they went to Liverpool to get the ferry across to Isle of Man for a Tuesday night meeting. And I went with Neil. There was quite a few who went across the ferry, and Stuart and myself, and I was with a good crowd of riders at that time. It was great.
So you enjoyed your scrambling career just like everybody else on this platform tonight.
And then a CCM riding was, I can't remember exactly what year, but the first bike I had, I blew it up. It was the black tank one. It was 73 maybe.
Stroker.
And I took the engine back to the factory. I wasn't sponsored, nothing. I just bought it. I bought it from Doug Hacken at that time. But I blew it up the first meeting. That was it. And took it back to, like, I phoned up the factory to see if I can get how we can fix it, or price-wise or cost-wise. And they said they was using the wrong oil.
Ah, right.
It cost me a bloody fortune.
Oh, bet it did.
So, but anyway, I took it in there. They fixed it, but I had to pay for it. And then that was the 73 one. And then 79, Norrie Limburn and I, and Jimmy Morton. Norrie wanted to buy a CCM, but he bought it through Jimmy, the dealer. Well, not a dealer, but it was the bike shop that saw him. So the three of us went down to Bolton to pick up the 1979 4-valve. And Norrie rode it for 2 meetings. And that was the end of his career, really. So he decided he wanted to have a ride in it. So I jumped on it. And I had great fun. And I raced in France with Jimmy at one of the 4-stroke meetings back in the 79. And now, since then, me and Fraser Dykes, we've just bought it back, 2 years ago. And we're
so it's getting fettled.
Just to restore it and just keep it, whatever's going to happen, happens. But so I'd be quite a rich man if I didn't have anything to do with CCMs.
It's true, I think a lot of people would say that. Well, Andy, I'm going to press on because people have been extremely patient and we've probably taken up more of their time than we should have. So we're going to finish. Thanks for a big round of applause for Andy Dyke. And it's Paul Kiappa, so a big welcome for Paul.
I got a button, no?
Now, Paul, everybody knows that you like to ride a motorbike, and I don't think you're off them very, very often. And you started in schoolboys as well. And somebody told me, I can't mind who it was, that you wore a kind of strange jacket when you started in the schoolboys. Can you remember this?
Well, when I first started, I went to the Dunfermline Club and they gave me the forms for the Scottish Formula Bantam Club. I had a 175 Bantam. And this is the story of my life, this, So, looks in the regulations, it has to be a 125 or a 150. So I had to sell my bike to the man with the camera there, Big Chris. And I went and bought a post office Bantam. I bought a post office 125. Tarted it up and everything. And I looked in the regulations, it says your outfit has to be of equivalent strength to a Serge battle dress. My old man knew nothing about bikes, and neither did I at the time. So up the Army and Navy stores, bought a dispatch rider outfit, lace up bits, all the gear and everything. Thought I was Archie, Kim. I went to Montrose with this bike, a 125 Bantam. I looked like a wee baby face schoolboys going, I'm going to hump that lot. I got a big fright, didn't I? I was nowhere. I was getting off this Bantam and pushing up the fucking hills and everything, So, and then I said, wait a minute, he's got a Tiger Cub. He's got a 175. They changed the regulations. So I had to go and buy the 175 back off of him. Gave him a 125 engine. So goes out, and me and my brother bought the motorcycle mechanics and tuned this thing. Right? Well, this is flying now, Away to the next meeting. And I was struggling coming out of corners going up the hills. I was all ported and exhausted and everything, And the exhaust fell off. And I went from 11th to 2nd. And of course my brother's going, what the hell happened there? Get that exhaust to buggery, it goes better without it, So at the time, all the parents were coming up and going, where do you get the information for that exhaust? Out the motorcycle mechanics. you know there's road race spec, eh? So he says, phone this number, he'll give you the right data. Have you done the barrel? Yeah, scrap it. The barrel's no good now. Buy another barrel. So long story short, I kind of wasted a bit of time. We started again, scramble spec, and the following year I started to win races because things were right. Up until then, there's no magazines, there's no YouTube. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Aye.
I had road race mudguards on it, a wee bump stop seat in the back like a road racer. I just didn't know what the hell to do. I started looking around and going, this is how it's meant to be. So the following year, I started winning races. And then I turned 16, got a job in a bike shop. My old man says, look, I can't do this anymore, it's costing too much. You're on your own. You either pack it in or find another way. So I kind of done a few deals, got some money, and I bought a 68 Montesa for 60 quid. Now this was a works Montesa. It only worked sometimes. I think in a whole season I must have finished 2 blooming races of this thing. So I got pissed off with that. It got sold, and I bought a new Bultaco for Vic Allen's in Bathgate, and that was just, it was like a UFO compared to the Montesa. You know, it started and the clutch worked and everything was great. You know. So I got under my car anyway, I broken back and stuff, so the Bultaco had to get sold, but I recovered and I bought a Red Rocket. And again, that compared to the Bultaco, that was like a UFO, that was really good, you know, and that's how it went anyway. And I kind of just found my way along there. I mean, kind of different to what these guys have done, you know, they kind of did it all right, you know. But bear in mind, my old man played football for the local five-a-side or whatever, so he didn't know what he was doing either, you know. And so we just kind of found it out our way, the hard way kind of thing, you know, and there's nobody really to look at in Dunfermline apart from a guy called Willie Pitblado that had a shop just up the road from me. And Willie was dead shrewd, you know, I mean, he ended up helping me in the end, you know, he was quite good, you know. I broke the frame on the Bantam as a schoolboy, and I went up there, he says, 4 quid, take that whole bike away, minus an engine, a whole bit of lights, number plate, logbook and everything, 4 quid, you know. So anyway, for there, Red Rocket, I ended up on I bought a 465 Yamaha. I didn't like that thing, I got rid of it. And I bought another Red Rocket, that was alright. And then I got a Myco 81 490, but I'll admit I wasn't really skilled enough at the time to get the best out of that thing, you know. So I bought a 250 Suzuki, based on, I read the reports and they said, this is a really good bike for a pro. The Honda, that's more a clubman bike. Oh, I'm going to buy the Suzuki then, eh? Big mistake. Big mistake. Well, mate bought the Honda, he was quite humble, I'm going to buy a Honda. I got a shot at it and I was like 4 seconds a lot faster than the Honda. So I realised, you're a clubman. That's when I realised. So I mean, I got rid of the Suzuki and I got a KX500 I think after that. And that was good, a nice light bike. Light, it was blistering fast. It was a bit unreliable and a lot of the stuff broke on it, you know. Frame broke and the wheels and the ignition. And I think I snapped the conrod at one time as well, you know. I mean, no, but I just like fumbled my way along, you know, and I was second in the schoolboys, second in the juniors. I ended up being second in the Scottish Championship at one point. I think there are a few absentees that year, if I'm honest. But I finished second there anyway. And done a load of beach races. It was just fun, you know.
You did well at beach races, didn't you?
Well, I think we could have done a hell of a lot better if we didn't go to the clubs, because this was just, it was just ridiculous. We were getting back at 4 o'clock in the morning, steaming drunk. And you could do maybe an hour guddling about like an absolute dumpling. And then the booze would come out of you and you start going fast. And so you just start catching up towards the end of the blooming race, you know. So I think I could have maybe done better. But there was one year, it rained all day. And it was that bad, my sleeves were hanging down here, my trousers were hanging off me. And I'd lost the brakes. It was a TM250 in 94. Completely, the brake pads had gone. And I'd just go and do my best. Nobody's lap-boarding me, I hadn't a clue where I was. But a lot of folk going missing, you know. And I came in and the sidecars were there. And I'm just waiting to go through where they tick your number off. And the boy with the sidecar, I thought I'd put it in neutral. But the teeth were off my back sprocket. And it was still in gear. And the boy with the sidecar booted the back wheel. He goes, the chain's going out of the sprocket, it's not even driving. And it was that bad that we had to push it off the beach. And I got up on the promenade and it wouldn't even drive me on the pavement.
Really?
And I finished the blooming race and I went back and my brother says, I got 32nd. I says, that's brilliant, you know. He says, no, that was a number, I was actually 11th. I finished 11th. I couldn't believe it, you know. That's the best I ever did.
Oh, incredible. And Paul, when the twin shock scene came along, you've had how many championships have you had in the twin shock racing?
Well, I bought a bike for sadly the parted guy called Ian Robertson, 490 Myco lugs, well affectionately known as lugs, and it was 500 quid. And I wasn't taking it too serious because I thought I was still the guy in the modern bike, you know. So I got a shot of this thing. I took it out and we were practicing in the mud. And I don't know how this happened, but it's a bit of a rattly old thing. It snapped the corn rod and blew the gas bottles off the shocks all in one go. Because the bike went in this ditch, blew the gas bottles off it, and it blew up at the same time. We had to carry the bike back. So I kind of fixed it up, and at the time I was putting the old tyres off my good modern bike onto the Myco because I wasn't taking it serious, you know. But then as the years went by and I was getting older, I thought, well, you better start taking the twin shock a bit more serious because you're bloody hopeless on the modern bike. So I've put in good tyres on the Myco and take it a bit more serious, rebuild the engine properly and that. And I think around about the late 90s or something, I started winning the races, you know. And then I broke my neck in 95 and that put a damper on things, but I came back and I think I don't know, I think about, he'll tell you, maybe 16 or 18 times or something, the Scottish Championship. Aye.
Well, Paul, you certainly are a legend in the twin shock racing in this side of the border, but you've done pretty well. I remember watching a video where you and Pete Mathia had a ding dong. Was that at Canada Heights?
Aye, it was.
That was an incredible.
There was a tabletop. I don't know if it's still there, but I went out in the practices and it was soaking wet. And I was hitting this tabletop and clearing it. I was the only one doing it, you know, on this 490 Myco. And I thought, aye, that's great. The practices went by and the track dried up. So I thought, if I can get the whole shot here and start doing this tabletop, I'm going to start gapping everybody, you know. The track had dried up, and I'm still using the speed that was there in the practice when it was wet and soggy. And it was kind of stumbling speed on my bike. So I passed away Martin Russell, got in the lead, come up to this tabletop, nailed it at the same speed I was doing when it was wet, over jumped it by about 25 feet. The front wheel exploded, and we had to carry the bike back, you know. But I had to realise that I'd weakened the frame, and I broke the top yoke as well. So I changed the yoke, got a linear wheel off for somebody. The frame must have been, or it was the steering stem actually. But anyway, got the bike going again, went back out and I was battling with Pete Mathia. And Pete wasn't doing this double for some, a sort of tabletop stroke double jump. He wasn't doing it. And I was doing it lap after lap. Of course, this thing's getting weaker and weaker. I started to notice, I'm struggling to go around corners with this thing, you know. The bike's all wobbly and everything. And it's really tough to force it around corners. Well, went off this jump the last time and I just landed in a heap. The front wheel, the forks come right out like that. It burst the top yoke and the stem got bent and the forks came back, hit the tank and you couldn't steer it. And the engine was only about that much off the ground because the forks were raked about. There's a video of this, you know. And the marshal come up and looked at it and he's sort of going, what's happened to that thing? The wheelbase must have extended maybe 6 inches or something, you know. But it was the top yoke snapped and the stem got a buckle and the forks just came back at the tank. It wasn't the frame that broke. But when I put new yokes in it, then I realised that the frame was stretched because the wheel was a good 2 inches, 3 inches further forward than it should be for the frame. So I had to get another frame, you know. But that was just being the dark boy in the jump, you know, basically.
You're not afraid of jumps. We've got a lot of history of you in jumps, eh?
Well, you've got to be good at something.
I think, Paul, you've proved to us all that you're perfectly good at motocross. Listen, you've all been fantastic folks, absolutely brilliant. Let's have a big, they've been so patient and you guys have been so patient. Big round of applause. But before we finish, I'd like to invite one other motocrosser to come and join me on this platform, or should I say pallet, and that's the one and only Neil Hudson. Neil, would you come and join us? Any of us that are motocross fans are so proud of homegrown guys that can win a world championship. So if I could we'll share this mic on this occasion. Neil, it's great to have you back here. You must have enjoyed yourself today, and with Suzanne back watching your son James riding, and he was riding very well.
Yeah, I've been winning the last race, put the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and tell me, does it ever make you wish you were out riding against your son? How do you think that would work?
Well, I had a race a couple of years ago with both my boys. We did an AMCA race. Well, I said I just want one last race together, and I just got blown away. Basically.
Did you?
Yeah.
You know, Suzanne, Neil's wife, was telling me today when your kids were young and racing, including your daughter, that she'd be at a part of the track shouting them on to go faster, go faster. But what were you doing further round the track?
I was signaling him to slow down because I was a nervous wreck.
Yeah, and that was just your fatherly instinct, but Suzanne was obviously more competitive than you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But Neil, I'm not going to keep you here because you did us a great service 2 years ago when you were our guest of honour. We're so pleased to have you back here. We still look at your achievement in that season against George Jobé and everything that went before it and the difficulties with the Mako thing. But you have been such an inspiration to everybody. And your professionalism and your character is something to be admired. So let's do it again, folks. A huge round of applause for Neil. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. And thanks again to the gathering. And I hope you've not got numb bums sitting there. And Jimmy here promised he'd buy me a pint tonight. I'll believe it when I see it.
You're right there. Barbie shot in a minute.
Sorry?
Barbie shot in a minute.
Oh, God, that's...
So there you go. That more or less wraps up all of the interviews for the Saturday evening. So next up, we're going to be checking out all of the racing that took place on the track over the course of the 2 days of the Saturday and the Sunday. And you'll see every single race that took place over the course of that weekend when we get around to posting all of the racing from this Offroad Motocross Festival at Drumlanrig. So once again, thanks for watching my video content. Until the next time, cheerio for now.